listen to me, because what I am about to tell you is not some bedtime story. It is not some polite little tale. This is raw, this is real, and it is about power, about betrayal, about how relationships between nations can be built like a fortress and then smashed to rubble by one single action, by one single person, by one single Indian whose ambition and choices created a ripple effect so massive that the whole foundation of trust collapsed. I want you to feel it in your chest, to feel the weight of the truth, because when we talk about U.S. and India, we are talking about two giants, two forces that together could move the world. And yet, what happened? They stumbled, they cracked, they were torn apart because of arrogance, because of ego, because of secrets hidden behind smiles and handshakes. People thought this partnership was unshakable. They thought America and India were going to stand shoulder to shoulder like unstoppable warriors on the battlefield of global politics. They saw trade growing, they saw defense cooperation rising, they saw leaders hugging in front of cameras and the world believing, yes, this is destiny, this is friendship. But destiny can be shattered when one person puts self-interest above national interest, when one person plays a double game, and when that double game is exposed, the trust dies. And when trust dies, no matter how strong the muscles of an alliance are, they shrink, they collapse, they cannot hold the weight anymore. Do you understand what betrayal feels like? It is not just disappointment, it is like a knife in the spine. And when nations feel it, it is 100 times worse. America felt that knife, India felt the shame of that betrayal, and the world watched as the cracks widened. Let me tell you something, the truth always comes out. You can bury it, you can hide it under mountains of lies, you can dress it up with diplomacy, but sooner or later the truth pushes through like iron breaking through concrete, and when the truth came out, it was explosive. We saw leaders smile less, we saw words grow sharper, we saw promises turn into negotiations, negotiations turn into confrontations, and confrontations turn into cold silence. The friendship that was once shouted from rooftops became a whisper in corridors. Why? Because one Indian thought he was bigger than the bond between nations. One Indian thought he could outsmart the eagle and the lion. One Indian thought his clever moves would go undetected. But the truth is, no one escapes the judgment of history. No one outruns the exposure of reality. This was not just about politics. This was about strategy, about security, about billions of dollars, about global influence. America trusted. India wanted to prove itself. But what happens when one player decides to switch sides, to play both fields, to serve two masters at once? Chaos happens, distrust happens, destruction happens, and this is exactly what unfolded. The United States does not forget betrayal. It never has, it never will. You betray once, the scar stays forever. And Trump, let me tell you, Trump was not a man to let betrayal slide. He saw through the games, he saw through the staged smiles, and he called it out. People may love him, people may hate him, but one thing is undeniable. He says what others are too afraid to say. He ripped the curtain apart and exposed the truth in front of the world. And the truth was this: the relationship was poisoned from inside by one Indian who thought he could juggle loyalty like a circus trick. Imagine this: two nations standing strong, planning the future, planning to dominate trade, technology, military cooperation, and then one person inserts doubt, one person leaks secrets, one person makes deals in the shadows. It is like termites eating the foundation of a skyscraper. From the outside it still looks tall, it still looks powerful, but inside it is hollow, it is weak, it is ready to fall, and fall it did. The skyscraper of trust crashed. People said, no, it's not possible. The U.S. and India cannot be destroyed by one man, but history proves over and over again that sometimes one person can change the fate of millions. One Caesar betrayed, one general defected, one spy sold secrets, and empires fell. Do not underestimate the power of one decision, one betrayal, one truth exposed, and when Trump exposed it, it was like thunder rolling across the world. He didn't hide it, he didn't sugarcoat it, he blasted it. He told the people, he told the allies, he told the enemies, this is the real truth, and once it was spoken, there was no going back. You cannot unsee the truth. You cannot rebuild trust with glue and tape once it is smashed by betrayal. You cannot shake hands the same way once you know the other hand has been dealing in shadows. America wanted strength. India wanted growth. Together, they could have ruled the economic battlefield, the technological race, the military chessboard, but now the plan is dust. The dream is broken, and everyone is asking why did it happen? And the answer echoes back again and again, because one Indian made a choice that destroyed the bridge, because one Indian became bigger than the mission, because one Indian thought betrayal would be invisible. Now, I want you to imagine what this means for the future. Nations do not forgive quickly. America does not forgive quickly. You burn that bridge, and you are not crossing it again for a long, long time. The cost is enormous. Trade deals vanish. Military cooperation shrinks. Trust in intelligence sharing disappears. Joint projects collapse, and all because of one. That is the tragedy, but that is also the reality. And here is the lesson. Power is fragile. Alliances are fragile. They are not made of steel. They are made of trust. And when trust is gone, nothing else matters. You can have the strongest army. You can have the biggest economy. You can have the greatest speeches. But without trust, it is all paper. It is all fake. It burns instantly in the fire of betrayal. So when Trump stood up and said the truth, it was not just anger, it was a warning to the world. Do not think America is blind. Do not think betrayal goes unnoticed. Do not think double games can last forever, because the exposure will come, and when it comes, it is brutal, it is unforgiving, and it destroys everything in its path. The people must understand this. History must record this. Because this is not just about U.S. and India, this is about every alliance, every partnership, every friendship between nations. Betrayal is the cancer that kills alliances. And here the cancer started small, hidden, quiet, but it grew, and when it was cut open, everyone saw the rot. Now the world looks at India differently. The world looks at America differently. Allies are cautious. Rivals are watching with a smile, because when giants fall out, the whole world shakes, and this shake is not over. The aftershocks will continue, deals will change, strategies will shift, and people will remember that one man can destroy what millions work to build. That is the brutal truth. That is the lesson written in fire, and if nations are wise, they will remember it forever. The destruction of this relationship proves that trust, once lost, cannot be rebuilt by words alone. Trust is not something you manufacture in a factory. It is not something you can just announce at a press conference or print in a newspaper headline. Trust is built brick by brick through actions, through loyalty, through consistency, through sacrifice. And when that structure collapses because of betrayal, no amount of words can put it back together. You can stand in front of cameras and say we are still friends. You can give speeches about unity and cooperation. You can sign papers that say partnership, but the reality is that inside, deep in the heart of the nations, the suspicion remains like a shadow that never disappears. Once suspicion enters, it grows, and every word, every action, every gesture is judged against that background of betrayal. Think about it like this. When you break a bone, even after it heals, there is a scar, there is a weakness, the memory of pain stays. You can move again, you can lift again, but you never forget that it was broken. Nations are the same. America and India can shake hands again, they can talk about trade again, they can meet at summits again, but the memory of the betrayal, the knowledge that one Indian's ambition brought the partnership to the ground, will always live in the back of the mind. And because of that memory, words will never be enough. Words are air, they vanish. Trust requires proof, it requires action, it requires sweat, blood, and sacrifice to even begin repairing, and sometimes it can never be repaired at all. America is not a nation that forgets betrayal. History proves this again and again. Once you betray, you carry that mark, and the next time you come with words, they are received with doubt, with hesitation, with caution. This is why the destruction of the U.S. India relationship is such a powerful example to the world. It shows that even the strongest friendships are fragile when one side plays games. It shows that when trust is burned, words are just smoke. You cannot rebuild a skyscraper with smoke. You need steel, you need concrete, you need action. And when that steel is missing, when the foundation is already broken, no amount of sweet talking can save it. Trump understood this. He was never a man of empty diplomacy. He called things out directly. He stripped away the polite layers of fake smiles, and he said the truth in raw form. He exposed the betrayal, he exposed the double game, and he made it clear that words mean nothing when actions show the opposite. When Trump stood up and spoke, the world was forced to look at the reality. Trust had been broken, and you cannot fix broken trust with promises. You cannot simply say, "We are still allies," when the knife marks are still on your back. This is the lesson that must echo across history. Words are temporary, they fade like echoes in a canyon, but trust, once destroyed, leaves a silence that no words can fill. America does not care about speeches, it cares about loyalty in action. India does not care about declarations, it cares about respect and consistency. But when one Indian chose self, interest over loyalty, that destroyed everything. And what is destroyed by betrayal cannot be resurrected by language. Think of a warrior on the battlefield. You fight side by side with your comrade, you protect his back, you trust him with your life. But one day, in the middle of the battle, he steps aside and lets the enemy strike you. Even if later he says, "I am sorry, I am still your ally," will you ever trust him again? Will you ever let him guard your back again? No, because you know words cannot erase the betrayal you felt. This is exactly what happened here. One Indian created that moment of betrayal, and now no matter how many speeches come, no matter how many agreements are signed, the bond is broken. Nations function on perception as much as on reality, and the perception now is clear. The United States cannot fully trust India, and India cannot fully trust America's reactions. That seed of doubt has been planted, and when doubt is planted, every future action is poisoned. Even if India comes forward with genuine cooperation, America will think twice. Even if America extends a hand of partnership, India will wonder if it is sincere or conditional. This is the destruction we are talking about, not just the loss of agreements, not just the loss of trade, but the permanent loss of confidence. Once trust is gone, every future step is heavy, every decision is slow, every move is calculated not with confidence but with suspicion. That is the cost of betrayal, and it is the cost that no words can erase. Imagine how many billions of dollars in trade can vanish because of this mistrust. Imagine how many defense projects will be stalled because of hesitation. Imagine how many opportunities for technological cooperation will be lost because the shadow of betrayal is always there. This is the price of one Indian's choice, and it cannot be paid off with speeches. The destruction of the relationship is not just about broken deals, it is about broken belief. Belief is the strongest glue between allies. It is the belief that you can rely on each other when the storm comes, that you can stand together when the fire is burning. But now that belief is gone. America does not believe India will always be loyal. India does not believe America will always trust. And when belief dies, the body of the alliance collapses. This is why we must understand that words alone are powerless in the face of betrayal. Actions must prove loyalty again and again. Sacrifices must be shown again and again. Without that, there is nothing but empty sound. The world watched Trump expose this reality. He made it clear that the destruction of U.S. India relations was not just a crack, it was an earthquake, And after an earthquake, you cannot simply paint over the ruins. You must rebuild from the ground up, and even then, the memory of the quake will never leave. In international politics, words are weapons, but they are also fragile. They can inspire, they can motivate, they can hide, but they cannot rebuild what betrayal destroys. To rebuild trust, you need proof. Proof in the form of loyalty, proof in the form of transparency, proof in the form of sacrifice, and even then, it takes decades to recover. America and India do not have decades to waste, and that is why the destruction is so severe. One Indian made a choice, and that choice will echo for generations. When the world looks at this example, it learns something important. It learns that no matter how strong an alliance seems, it is always vulnerable if trust is broken. You can build military bases together, you can share intelligence, you can trade billions, but if one betrayal is exposed, everything collapses. And the collapse is not just material, it is psychological, it is spiritual, it is emotional. Leaders cannot erase that. Citizens cannot erase that. The world cannot erase that. This is the real truth, the truth that Trump exposed with brutal clarity. He tore away the illusions, he tore away the polite lies, and he said it plainly: the relationship is destroyed because words cannot heal betrayal. Trust, once lost, cannot be brought back by language, it cannot be repaired by ceremonies, it cannot be faked with smiles. Trust lives in action, and once betrayed, it is almost impossible to bring it back to life. That is the lesson carved into history now, the destruction of U.S. India relations will be remembered not for speeches, but for betrayal. And it will stand as a warning to every nation, every leader, every ally, that once trust is lost, no words in the world can rebuild it.